Chucklefish founder and lead designer on Wargroove and Bryce on the business side of game dev. It's no secret that running a game development company is incredibly tough. Especially right now, there are always lessons to be learned when it comes to figuring out what works and what does not. When asked in a recent live stream with Gamasutra about where the studio succeeds and where there's room for improvement, Chucklefish founder and lead designer on Wargroove even Bryce admits that there's lots and lots of lessons to pick from. I think that one thing that we have done well is that we have an identity. We have made games that fulfill. I think we make games aimed at a certain kind of player and perhaps that player has not had. There are not a great many games out there that perhaps appeal to that player. Bryce says, and the reason we do that is because we make games for ourselves. So we know when things are not appealing to us and we know how to appeal to us. And that's always sort of been at the very core of our strategy. He goes on. As long as we are entrenched in games, and we are playing lots and lots of games, and we know when we are kind of feeling a little underwhelmed by something or we are missing something, we can fill that gap. Bryce explains that the reason why Chucklefish is so open about its development process is because until demystify game development as a whole, there is a disconnect between developer and player if there is not transparency. At the same time, a lot of game developers, a lot of game companies, do everything they can to hide how difficult it is to make a game. They want to sort of come out with this product that looks as if it was made by magic, and it's fresh and perfect on release. And to the end user, it looks like there was no effort involved. So we want to try and change that. Bryce says, we understand why gamers do not understand the process, and we want to open up. As a result, we'll have been really forthcoming with our community. We involve our community in development. He does this through going to their Discord channels, Reddit, etc., and asking the community for feedback on various subjects. If there is a reason why something may not be feasible, they communicate it. So I think our connection to the community and our sort of transparency in terms of the process is something that we do very well. But navigating how to communicate with players can be tricky sometimes. How do the Wargroove developers manage that? Take a look at the full interview on the deck which to find out. It's well worth the watch. Gamasutra and DD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. Shigeru Miyamoto shares his thoughts on Nintendo's current game development efforts. Despite the 27 million strong install base Nintendo now has with the Nintendo Switch, the company's leadership is hesitant to put the quality of its first-party releases at risk in order to get more titles out the door. The topic of POD expanding with the goal of bolstering the number of first-party Switch releases in the next few years was brought up during a recent investor Q&A, with the goal of supplying existing Switch owners with a steady stream of new games. In response, Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto points out that the company's third-party partnerships mean that we are working on a larger scale than what can be handled solely within the company in terms of managing software development. But even despite that, he says that any expansion of Nintendo's development scale must firmly maintain the Nintendo mid-quality of the software. I know some people say we just need to hire more developers, says Miyamoto. We are not merely focused on increasing development staff, but we are focusing on nurturing more developers adequately within Nintendo. I want us to actively invest in the products we develop, in order to maintain the quality we desire. Nintendo's current development cadence, especially in regards to how it's changed across the lifetime of the company, was something also mentioned earlier on in the QA by Nintendo director and senior managing executive officer Shinya Takahashi. Compared to the NES era, there are a lot more developers, larger development teams, says Takahashi. Even so, development is being managed more systematically than before. So although it's true that the volume of software is increasing, there are more people involved in developing it. There are more development processes in place to bring it all together, and the development scale has expanded. I believe one appealing aspect of the video game business is that you can create something a lot of consumers will react very positively to if you add just a little extra value, even if it's not dependent on hardware performance. As Miyamoto in response to that same question, there are indie games spreading widely across consumers, even though those titles were not large-scale titles developed by many people. We always value this point and want to nurture the people who can create car components like that. And if we can continue to repeatedly refine the car components of play that those individuals create into the future, I think we will be able to continue creating Nintendo-like products. And I feel that those individuals are steadily growing at Nintendo.
FIFA 19
Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, and Red Dead Redemption 2 were the most downloaded titles on the PlayStation Store throughout 2018. The news comes straight from Sony, with the company naming the top 20 most downloaded PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita titles in a post on the PlayStation blog. Familiar names like Beat Saber, Job Simulator, and Super Hot were topped the PlayStation Vita download charts, and were joined in the top 10 by the likes of Skyrim and Moss. Although the console maker did not reveal any exact download figures, it's still interesting to see which games thrived on its digital marketplace. Last year, we have spotlighted the 10 most downloaded PS4 and PS Vita games below, but those interested can check out the full lists by clicking right here. PlayStation Store's most downloaded PS4 titles. PlayStation Store's most downloaded PS Vita titles. Sony's stock price decreased by 1% on the Tokyo Stock Exchange Day, a single business day after the company released its third quarter earnings report and charted slowing gains in its video games business. That decrease marks the largest fall in price Sony stock has seen since September 2015. As Bloomberg points out, there are other factors that likely contributed to the declining share price, like Sony's struggling superior smartphone business. But that slowing momentum in the company's PlayStation has analysts apprehensive of the company's near future. Sony's latest financial report clocked operating income in its games business at 73.1 billion yen, $668.2 million, at the three-month period ending December 31st.
2018
A 14% decrease from last year's holiday quarter. The quarter saw a strong showing from software sales, something that helped offset slowing sales of PlayStation 4 hardware. But, coming off a year with a strong software lineup, 2019 don't have nearly as many heavy hitters planned for release that could help compensate for those declining hardware sales. Analysts cited by Bloomberg note that they are keeping a watchful eye on Sony as they assess any risk that might come along with the slowing games business, while some are anticipating the launch of the next PlayStation console during the next fiscal year, and any costs that might come with that endeavor. China announced that it approved 80 new game releases in late December, signaling the first wave of media authorized by the Online Games Ethics Committee. However, the list of approved titles does not seem to include any releases from Chinese tech giant Tencent. This report comes a few weeks after Chinese regulators began reviewing games submitted under license consideration in China.